In the stillness of the night, where mysteries and doubts dwell in the human heart, an ancient story echoes through the centuries. The story of Thomas, the apostle who turned doubt into a doorway to a deeper, more human, more real faith. But who was Thomas really? The man who, in the face of the impossible, questioned the inexplicable, and in doing so, found a God closer than he ever imagined. After Jesus' death, the world was cloaked in darkness. The one who preached love, forgiveness, and salvation was now buried, and his followers were scattered, lost, and afraid. It was the moment to lose all hope. And in the midst of this despair, the disciples were gathered, locked in a room, trying to make sense of what had happened. But at that moment, one name rang out differently: Thomas. He had not been with the others when Jesus appeared to them for the first time after the resurrection. He was absent. Perhaps the silence of grief kept him away. Or perhaps he was searching for answers, trying to make sense of the chaos that had settled in his heart. When he returned to the group, he heard an unbelievable story. Jesus has risen. We saw him. But Thomas, the most skeptical, the most human of them all, could not believe it. He just couldn't. He knew more than anyone that the wounds from the crucifixion could not be healed, and that the dead do not return to life. He looked at the others, his eyes clouded with doubt, and exclaimed, "Unless I see the marks of the nails in his hands, unless I put my finger into the marks of the nails and my hand into his side, I will not believe." His companions tried to convince him, but Thomas remained firm. His doubt was a heavy shadow, a cloak of darkness that surrounded him, preventing the light from entering. He was not ready to leave the prison of his disbelief. But as always happens, the truth cannot be denied for long. A week passed, and the disciples were gathered again. This time, Thomas was with them. And then, the impossible happened. The risen Christ entered the locked room, without the door being opened. He appeared before them, glorious, but still carrying the marks of his passion. Thomas looked at him, and the man before him was the same but different. His body, marked by the wounds of the crucifixion, seemed to radiate a supernatural light. And Jesus, looking directly at Thomas, said, "Put your finger here. See my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Do not be unbelieving, but believe." It was a direct invitation, not an explanation, but a unique offer. The chance to touch the impossible, to feel the divine presence in its most tangible form. Thomas, in that moment, knew there was no turning back. It was no longer a matter of seeing to believe. Now he was face to face with the truth in its rawest, most visceral form. And without hesitation he exclaimed, "My Lord and my God." These words were not merely a recognition of Jesus' resurrection, but a total surrender. Thomas not only saw and touched the nail marks, but also touched the essence of what it means to believe. He had touched both death and life at once, and that changed his faith forever. The story of Thomas is perhaps the most human of all the apostles' stories. He wasn't the first to believe, but his journey was unique. He questioned, doubted, asked for proof, and in the end, he found something deeper than simple belief. He found a personal relationship with the risen Christ. "Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed," Jesus said to Thomas. But in his response, there was more than just a correction. There was a blessing, a deep understanding that Thomas's doubt was not a weakness, but a quest for truth. Thomas's doubt was a catalyst for his faith, and in a sense, Jesus blessed him for it. Thomas's doubt teaches us that there's no shame in questioning, in searching, in doubting. Sometimes it's in the doubt that we find a stronger, more authentic faith. In a world of shadows, where darkness often seems stronger than light, the story of Thomas reminds us that even in our deepest moments of uncertainty, the light of truth will always be within our reach, ready to be seen, touched, and lived. Sometimes we need to see to believe, Other times, true faith arises when we stop searching for just external answers and allow ourselves to touch something deeper within ourselves. Thomas, the apostle of doubt, is perhaps the one most like us. His story isn't about blind faith, but about a search for truth, a search that led him to recognize the risen Christ and declare with all his soul, "My Lord and my God." Thomas teaches us that doubt is not an obstacle to faith, but a bridge to something greater. He had the privilege of seeing with his own eyes, but more than that, he was touched by the truth. And so, his journey became a testimony for all of us. Even in the darkness, even when everything seems lost, the light of truth will always be within our reach, ready to be seen, touched, and lived. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Doubt and the search for truth are part of our journey, and together we can explore the shadows of the unknown. Leave your thoughts on Thomas's story in the comments and share this video with those who are also seeking to understand faith and doubt. Until the next mystery.